Masterpiece. A name synonymous with the best of Transformers. And we knew that this toy was coming. We talked about it previously on the podcast when all we had was some CG renders and some prototype, renders and stuff like that. Amazon Japan put up briefly and then removed when they realized they made a mistake of MP Masterpiece number 41 Beast Wars Dinobot. And it was a complete photo shoot. And the reason that I'm reading of why the Amazon listing was put up and then put back down was because the pricing was actually incorrect. It was a rumored pricing that ended up not being true. We'll get into that as we get into later about this toy. But a lot of those images, when they went live, people saved them, and there was a lot of images. And these are more or less the final images of Dinobot, robot mode, alt mode, all of his accessories, his gimmicks, his pieces,
comparisons. He looks glorious.
It is absolutely, without me being able to swear, spectacular. But swearing would be the only way to truly emphasize just how amazing this is. It is amazing. I would have never imagined that somehow the engineering would get to this point that we would be able to pull off Beast Wars Dinobot properly to match that mainframe animation, model that really was designed to never really be able to replicate that. Yeah. And we look back at, the Generations Classics Deluxe Dinobot that made a okay attempt at it and kind of seeded in a small way what could be one way to do a Dinobot in proper colors. But ultimately, in the end, it still missed a lot of points. Not only does this Masterpiece Dinobot knock it out of the park, but is able to have a pretty decent amount of bonuses that normally sometimes would hinder a toy or be left out because of the difficulties. And what I get at with that is, well, number one, let's start at the beginning here of this long gush fest for this absolutely amazing toy. Number one, we'll start with the robot mode. Dead on. I can't say anything negative about the robot mode. It's the animation model. Clearly, and to me, I always feel that if you're going to get one thing right, at least get the robot mode right. And the robot mode is perfect. They managed to get the faux dino head on the chest.
Yeah.
Which again, the reality is, and it's the same thing with Cheetor, where you can't have that real alt mode animal head be the actual head in robot mode. It just can't be done. In the sense where it could be done, it was done with the original toys, but it can't be done if you want to match that animation accuracy, because mainframe always smushed those designs and always made those faces look very different. They were always just like a roadkill on the chest than it was actually being the head of it. So they managed to put that faux chest, that faux dino head chest with the blotted out eye. I love how, while it was never a thing really in the show, the original toy used to always store his sword in the, we'll call it the choppa face, the rotor blade. And so they made an effort in this
tail,
case.
No?
Yeah, it was inside the tail.
Yeah.
And I love that they managed to keep it inside the tail and also have a way that it folds up so that it could be stored in the tail if needed. Even though that's something that's not necessary. They could easily just would have been an accessory that could have been on the side and not have to worry about it. A lot of accessories came with a lot of Masterpiece toys that at no way at any point had to be stored on the figure. But they stayed true to Beast Wars and their rule of keeping accessories on the toys or weapons on the toys, and found a way to fold up the sword and make it fit inside the cavity of the tail. It comes with a golden disc. No surprise, I kind of made that prediction before. Is it metal or is it not metal? I don't know, but judging by a pretty much a close up on the disc, it says the sounds of Earth etched right on it, so they keep the true to that original golden disc of the sounds of Earth, which were on the, I believe it was the Voyager probe.
I think so. The
It was.
Voyager telescope
Yeah.
or something like that. No,
So
you might be right. Probe.
yeah, it was a probe. It was a space probe. Um, and so it's cool that that's included. If it's die-cast or not die-cast, we do not know yet. But I'm gonna, if I had to take a guess, it probably is die-cast. I mean, we've had Transformer Masterpiece coins included with stuff, so I don't think they would skip out on this and not make this die-cast. Um, what else? It comes with a laser blast accessory that attaches to his face, which was an unexpected extra, which is pretty cool because I read here that not only does this laser blast accessory attach to his face, but there actually is a battery um, thing in here where his eyes light up, so it'll probably illuminate the laser blast even better.
Right.
Like
Green.
with the translucent plastic, which is cool because Primal was able to pull this off too. The Optimus Primal toy had a blinking light gimmick for his eyes, which I thought was a nice addition.
Mm-hmm.
So to pull this off with Dinobot 2, who's larger than Primal, is a great thing. Which is another thing too I want to bring about. Scale is perfect. This is Dinobot's size. Dinobot has always been taller than Primal. Always been. It's always been depicted in the show. There's a great image that Mainframe put out a couple of years ago where it has the whole Beast Wars cast together, and it gives you an idea of the scale of the cast. And Dinobot was always the tallest of the bunch because he wasn't part of that crew. He was a
Wasn't there
Predacon.
two versions of that? It was like, or there was multiple versions where
There was one that was, I know what you're referring to. There was one that was just the season 1 cast, and then they did one that was like everyone, kind of. Season
But
1.
was there another one that had all the models?
Yeah, I believe, yeah, there was one that was season 1, 2, and 3 all together.
And it was just all the character models together.
So, but there's one that really shows, like, it's, Dinobot is the tallest of the crew.
Yeah, because he can go toe to
that first season 1 Maximal crew.
Because he can go toe to toe with Megatron, basically.
Yeah, well,
that was always a thing. Like if Pterosaur, if Dinobot stayed, he would have been the actual Starscream of the crew.
Yeah, he would. He would have been the Starscream and the second in command. That was always the established. I always looked at Dinobot as if he was the X-Men, he was Wolverine.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Where it's like it's the anti-hero. And there's a confliction there. And just in the same way that Wolverine sometimes always skates on the razor's edge of good and bad, even though there is good in him, it's kind of the same thing with Dinobot, where we always thought, he's in it for himself, but at the same time there's good in there. And this toy is incredible. Anyways, to get more into the accessories, I don't want to get into the amazingness of this character.
There's also a little like nub so that he can hold the disc.
Yeah, the golden disc, which
in alt mode.
That relates more to alt mode because, and that's something that I knew was going to come up at some point because Dinobot was one of the few characters that by the time season 2 was at its end, he was one of the few characters along with Rhinox that still had his original season 1 body, where everyone else has moved on to new toys in a sense, and he didn't. So because of that,
not yet anyway.
Yeah, so that's just it. So because of that, he was one of the few characters that if he was going to be in his alt mode, it wasn't just to show off a Transmetal gimmick or a Fusor gimmick. It was more just to interact. And so he was, we would see a Dinobot in alt mode holding a gun because he had opposable thumbs and stuff, or holding a golden disc, or just something of that manner.
What's better than a dinosaur? A dinosaur with a gun.
Exactly. Another thing cool that comes with this that was unexpected was it comes with a stand and some, I guess we could call them
harnesses.
Yeah, well, harnesses and clip-on stuff that you could create dioramas and stuff. I'll be honest with you, I don't really understand why this was included.
Price point maybe,
or necessary. I usually find. I've had a lot of different SH Figuarts and D Arts from the Mega Man line that included these, and I could understand it with characters that have iconic poses that have been known for being airborne. Mega Man, air dashing or jumping and shooting, very iconic with those characters. Dinobot, yeah, there's been scenes where he's been jumping with his rotor blade and kind of getting some air while doing that, specifically in Code of Hero and stuff like that. But I mean, they're showing a lot of stuff where it's like, hey, here's the Raptor mode, but using this harness and stand piece. But something that, in all honesty, not really necessary because you would have had this same pose more or less if he was grounded. So not really needed. And same thing, again, showing a cool pose, jumping, holding the sword and the rotor blade. But at the same time, I mean, was it necessary and adds to the price point for it to be there? It's extra plastic and everything. I kind of hope that, and not to mention there's two pieces of this. There's two of them that are included. I'm hoping that this might be linked to something that might get released later. Maybe perhaps this is something that works with Optimus Primal, who is a character that's associated with flying. So maybe it's something that'll work better with him. I don't know. That's something that I'm still kind of up in
Or
the air
maybe you
about.
could put it with Cheetor, and you could do the scene where he's running away from the explosion, and
Oh,
he transforms
I
from
don't
the
know.
intro.
Yeah, I don't know. Or like again, it's weird that he has this. That this is included specifically with him, and not to mention it makes up a large portion of the parts and pieces that are included with this toy. But it's nice that it's there. Although, in all honesty, it's something that I get a feeling a majority of Transformer fans, this will sit inside a box instead of actually actively being used, which is kind of a shame. But at the same time, it's kind of the same way how a lot of people with their Starscream, Masterpiece Starscreams, don't use the stand that he comes with.
Right.
Because in all honesty, it's just like, well, you kind of want to have him in alt mode hanging with everyone else. You don't want, excuse me, you want him in robot mode hanging out with everyone else. You don't
Yeah.
want him really like airborne next to everyone else. But I mean, pick your poison with that. It looks. Then we get to the alt mode. I forgot to mention, he also has three different face plates. He has his normal face, his growling face, and then his completely open up face. Now, with these photos also, not too long after we started recording, Takara-Tomy released an official video of all of this stuff. And the video depicts even more just how amazing these faces are. The
Like
video,
one smiling.
the video looks incredible because it really shows how every accessory ties into something in the show and just how much the toy looks like the animation model. Like again, and when you have those side by sides, here's Takara-Tomy with their high quality HD video showing off their newest product with HD footage of the show, and it's a side by side, and you're going like, oh my god, this is like dead on. This is amazing. It looks great. And again, having it next to Optimus Primal from Masterpiece and Cheetor or Cheetah from Masterpiece, and the scale just works perfectly. It looks great. It looks amazing. But yeah, then we get to the alt mode. And this is where I was reading some negativity. Some people were complaining about the alt mode. But you know what? Let's put it this way. Number one, the fact that the alt mode has an opening mouth with a tongue.
Yeah, exactly.
It has a tongue, which is crazy because Dinobot would have some scenes where he would stick his tongue out. And
Yeah.
it's like they didn't need
Or
to
he's
do that.
talking and you
Or
see
he's
the tongue.
talking and he would go, like. Number two, able to hold accessories in his dino hands. Another cool thing. The fact that this toy is able to pull all of this off. The fact that there's little panels, little itty bitty, almost not even noticeable panels that show some of his shoulders and stuff. I think I'll let it slide. I think I'll let it slide. It is so dead on. Like you even look at the dino mode. People are complaining about this. Why don't you go back and look at the original Dinobot toy?
Yeah,
that had
exactly.
two big translucent legs running up the frickin' front of his chest in Dino mode. This is incredible. Like this is.
I like how his shoulders in robot mode make his legs in dino mode.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, and that harkens back to the original toy. The original toy was the same thing, where his dino legs made his robot hands, but it's I mean, that it's because that engineering was there from the get-go, and a lot of that stuff just makes sense to continue forward. It's the same
Hmm.
thing. You don't change the way Cheetor's legs transform from one mode to the other. It's what worked in the beginning. It's what'll work moving forward. Obviously, you reinvent the wheel a little bit to make
Hmm.
it more show accurate, but ultimately, in the end, everything just lines up perfectly. This looks amazing. Um, I don't even know where to like. The only thing is now to get to the pricing. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of
Speculation,
speculation
guesses.
because right when the Amazon Japan listing went up, the yen price for it was 30,240, which translates to about $260 American. Now, to pull that back for a second, that would make Dinobot one of, if not the most expensive straight out of retail masterpiece toys ever made. Up to this point, anyhow, that ranking went to the recent masterpiece Megatron G1, and shared a little bit with, depending on different sources, with Star Saber. So up to that point, those two really were the highest. Star Saber dipped in value a lot with different retailers, and then he ended up not having that ranking. But Megatron more or less hold that it was between 240 and 250. Dinobot here's at 260. Now, I find that really hard to believe. Granted, is he taller than Beast Wars Optimus Primal? Yes, but he's not like insanely taller than him. He's his Primal is face to face with his chest. To give pretty much a comparison to how tall Dinobot is, he's probably going to be like shorter. I almost want to say he's going to be a little shorter than, say, Shockwave, or maybe one of the Jets, the older molds. I'm just kind of like looking at some figures that are standing next to my MP Mega Optimus Primal here that are in close proximity.
Hmm.
But that being said, Shockwave wasn't $260 American.
Right.
Neither was any of those jets. And Shockwave had LED inside him, just like Dinobot will. He had tons of extra accessories, just like Dinobot will. Maybe, I don't know, this golden disc beam. I think maybe the chain base, or this base here, might have something to do with it, and I really hope that's not a reason why it would be $260, because then I would gladly have it not be there. Um, but it's just, I don't think it's $260. I really don't. I think that there's a mistake somewhere. I remember reading somewhere, and I can't find the source right now, but I remember reading somewhere that this is going to be something more along the lines of $70 to $80. And he comes in a case of four. That's what I
Mm.
was reading more on, and it makes more sense. I can't. This isn't a. There isn't enough stuff, pieces, size, girth, volume to justify that. The masterpiece Megatron that came out, while it was considerably shorter than the original MP Megatron, it still was a larger figure. It came with a ton of accessories, and when I mean a ton, I mean way more than even this Dinobot.
Mm.
And it was just more justified just because of it being a G1 character and all the other nuances and die cast and little things that went with it. In this case, I don't know. I just can't imagine that. But that being said,
That laser
um,
beam gimmick costs all that money. That's where all the money went. All those
well, again,
LEDs for the laser beam face.
Primal had an LED light in his body.
Well,
You
same
know,
with this one because if you look at the Dinobot heads, so it's got like the smile, it's got the open mouth, and then one of them like it doesn't have red eyes. It has like clear plasticky looking eyes. So that has to be the LED one.
well, clearly they're going to do that. The face that's going to be for the LED is going to be the one that's going like with the mouth open, going ah.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you look at the image, it's like the far right one.
Well, the thing is too, that's that's bizarre, is when Beast Convoy came out. Like, let's just compare Beast Convoy to like in terms of what it came with. Beast Convoy came with four different faces. That's gonna be three different Beast faces
Mm.
for the robot mode, four different Beast faces for the Beast mode, if you will. It came with a LED lighting gimmick also. It came with swords. It came with weapons. And if you got the bonus one, it came with a die-cast mace. It didn't come with a base like Dinobot does here, but it did come with all that stuff and a little more than Dinobot. Dinobot doesn't come with additional beast faces. He just has his own articulated face. And this Beast Wars Primal, even though it was considerably smaller too, was only 1,300 yen. A lot
Okay.
cheaper too. It was about, more or less about, depending on where you went online, $100, 110, sometimes even cheaper, 90. So it's so hard for me to feel that this is double the value and more than Primal. It just doesn't add up.
Uh,
Um, I think that we're going to get a correct number down the line, and everything will make more sense. And then MP-32 Primal, MP-34 Cheetor will be with their brother here, and this will slowly complete the season one cast, because you could use your generations Rhinox, you could use your generations or the Japanese version of Rat Trap from that we've gotten thus far, and we have pretty much a season one, the first half of season one maximal cast complete for your
yeah.
display, and it looks great. It looks great. I don't know how long we've been rambling about it, but
Very
it
long time.
it looks great. It looks great.
The one thing I do like is that the tail does bend.
Yeah,
The tail
it
does bend. They actually engineered that in. I think that's really, really impressive and
it's
really good.
it's crazy. It's
Makes it
crazy.
makes it look more alive.
Yeah, it's crazy how much. And you know what? And I get a feeling we're missing stuff here. I would not be surprised if there's even more extras and details and little things and little gimmicks and nuances. But this is going to be one of those masterpiece toys. Let's put it this way: Primal to me was a 10 out of 10 masterpiece toy. Cheetor to me was a 10 out of 10 masterpiece toy. I get a feeling this guy is going to be the same. So far, the Beast Wars toys from the masterpiece line have been flawless. The transition from CG to plastic this time around in 2017 going into 2018 have been perfect. So I can't wait. And all it begs to differ now is, and I guess we could have people answer this in the comments too, who do you want to see next? Like, as I mentioned before, while it would be nice to have Rhinox and Rat Trap get masterpiece treatments, I feel that we do have two really good toys right now that kind of fill the gap, even in a scale kind of way. They fill the gap right now. If they did them, I wouldn't argue it. But at
Hmm.
the same time, I feel that we do have something that could kind of hold us over where Dinobot was much needed. But then who should we then? I say, me personally, we'll then get to Jaws D's also, but me personally, um, if we have to continue going forward with Maximals, I'd like to see Tigatron done proper. I've always been bothered how he's never had a good proper alt mode toy, and even he's always been a Cheetor repaint. It's time
Mm.
for Tigatron to get his own original mold toy. Would it be not good for repaints? Well, I can't even imagine what's going to be good for Dinobot for repaints either.
Yeah.
These need to be done to be done. You know.
I think they would probably change the coloring on the paint or the
Well, the
plastic or
Dinobot I
something.
could give the silly arguments, and I can't even imagine why Masterpiece would go this route. But hey, you want to do that Beast Wars Grimlock repaint of Dinobot?
Eh. Or I
Get
could see them doing Death of Dinobot or something.
yeah. I could honestly see Death of Dinobot more than Grimlock Dinobot. But if there's one thing I've said with Transformers, I say something and then I put my foot in my mouth and they end up doing it anyway. So,
Yeah.
but I could see a Dinobot maybe with a new face sculpt that's more like G1 Grimlock. Something more akin to the actual toy, which had a mouth plate and no
Right.
mouth on
Right.
it. Um, but yeah, like he doesn't have much repaint potential. But that being said, neither does Cheetor unless you're doing Shadow Panther or something. Primal got one weird repaint thus far. Due to his Supreme Commander anime accurate version, toy accurate version. So I mean, if do it Tigatron, just get it out there. If you have to go Maximal, excuse me, Predacon, the obvious route I would say is start with a Megatron, do it safe. Start with a Megatron. Megatron will sell well. Let's go with the first season, even though I like season 2 better. But I think season 1 Megatron, masterpiece toy, and then after that, I don't know. That's your call. Black Arachnia. Like me
Yeah.
personally, I would say I would prefer maybe Pterosaur needs to get it done, but Pterosaur I don't think would be a hot seller. where a Black Arachnia masterpiece I could see doing very well in the Japanese market, and it would just be pretty awesome to see. So I could see Black Arachnia after a Megatron. What about you?
I don't know. It's tough because a good chunk of those toys were pretty show and model accurate. So it's like,
We're going for perfection anyways. I mean, like, let's put it this way. When Beast Wars came out and I picked out that first Cheetor toy with its red eyes in this case, I didn't get the blue eye version, the red eye version. I was pretty satisfied with what that toy did
yeah,
to what was on the television screen. It's just, same thing with Optimus Primal. Sure, he didn't have his mouth on the original Ultra toy, but it was pretty darn good for what was on the television screen, ignoring a mutant head.
yeah,
But
exactly.
but
Maybe,
these things come in and go, now we're going to give you perfection. So if you want to get perfection, what do you want?
maybe a silver bolt. I could see one being
See,
really cool.
that's where I try to avoid the transmetals and the fusors, because a lot of those guys came after the fact,
Hmm.
and so Silverbolt, while his masterpiece toy I think would look spectacular, I think it would be more just
I would,
taking the
I
old
would,
toy and just giving it more articulation and better proportions
I
rather
would
than
just say
reinventing
like
the wheel.
I would have just said don't go crazy on the feathers. Like just like we don't have to have individual moving feathers. I
I
mean,
honestly think that that's what they would probably do, because
I don't want them to do
in
that.
Silverbolt's case, because that toy is already so like there's no engineering issues in terms of accuracy, so they would literally take that old toy, just give it more articulation, kind of like
Because again, like I mean, the only person I could see like yeah, we definitely need a character, a new toy is Pterosaur, but I don't know like a lot of people are like yeah, Pterosaur, we need one. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and even
And
like even a very distant second place to Pterosaur would be something like Scorponok. Yeah, he doesn't look 100% like his animation model. There's color differences, facial differences, but ultimately in the end,
he was
if they
pretty
even
close.
even if they did a Scorponok toy that's 100% show accurate with a Cyber Bee and everything, who's going to buy that really on a massive capacity? I know I would as a huge Beast Wars fan, but I'm just saying the general audience, where they're going to spend all this time in marketing and engineering into a masterpiece toy to get
Hmm.
low sales. I don't think they'd want to go that route.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, there's I look at the G1
maybe
release.
maybe Tarantulas,
Tarantulas, I could see. Tarantulas
but
is a
I mean,
distant. Go ahead. What you
but
gonna say?
I was gonna say like Tarantulas, but I don't see anyone really wanting clamoring for that first season Tarantulas. Like it'd be Transmetal Tarantulas you would
Not to
want.
mention, villain characters don't sell as well in Japan, which is
Hmm.
that's why I said, like, from my perspective, if they actually do want to delve into the Predacons, stick with Megatron, maybe do Black Arachnia. Everyone else is really risque.
Yeah,
Like everyone else, whether it be Waspinator, Tarantulas, Pterosaur, going into Scorponok, it's all right. And then you go, well, do we really need an Inferno? Do we, like there's certain characters that when they came later in the show's run, the engineering was coming after the fact, so they were able to make toys that matched the show than the other way around. And that's why
yeah.
it's all those season 1 characters that suffer from this so much. I mean, you look at like Transmetal Tarantulas. Outside of a minor, arm articulation, he's dead on to the show model,
I would say maybe give them better fingers,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the
get
anime,
more
outside of
hands. You
the
know.
hand articulation and arm articulation, you know, he's more or less accurate to what was on the show. You look at Cheetor, even outside
Hmm.
of little articulation here and there to like put his arms together to do like the one face cannon thing, and the
Yeah.
way that his face looks, the actual toy, the face of the toy of the
Hmm.
robot mode, it's pretty darn good. Maybe the coloring of the chest could be a little more yellow, but there's very little that could be done to reinvent the wheel there. Those
Yeah.
Transmetals, those season 3 guys, a lot of them pretty much did a pretty good job of depicting what was on the screen and what was on. It's just season 1, and so for me, I think, give me that Tigatron, give me my Blue Man, Blue Man Coup, I could live with that one. It's about time he was not just a Cheetor repaint, and he actually
Hmm.
gets that tiger face and everything, and it looked really cool. And any accessories he'd come with would be pretty awesome too.